but the same people who are trying to push her to tribal mobilization. And it's talking about the crowds in Kisumu. Those are political mobilizations. Today, anyone who would want to impress anyone can mobilize crowds and receive the person in the presence. Okay. And if you allow me 5 minutes, I just tell you why we believe that Building Bridges Initiative or Task Force is unconstitutional, but not the handshake.
Yes, you guys have gone to court to suspend it.
We have gone to court asking for conservatory orders, but that is a matter before court. We'll not discuss it. But if you allow me, I'll just tell you facts that never change about it. Okay. Because facts don't change. Number one, these amorphous product, number one, it is a void agreement. It is not enforceable as a public course because the principle of public participation never involved in it as a national value in the Article 10 of the Kenya Constitution. This amorphous body is usurping the roles of already existing commissions. We have Kenya Human Rights Commission, we have got independent bodies like Kenya Police, because they're talking about ethos, security, ethics. Those issues are already being addressed by already existing commissions. Oh so we are talking about the amorphous body that is undermining the execution of already
so you believe as Stadu Alliance Party that the Building Bridges Initiative is bringing nothing new to the table?
You know, you cannot bring anything new while what held this country is already documented. TGRC report, what does it talk about?
Right.
I'm sure you have read about it.
Yes.
Dung Commission, Market Commission, Kregler. That is what helps Kenya. If you look at the TORs of the Building Bridges Initiative under Gazette Notice number 51, 54, it clearly indicates what is already documented. There is nothing new that the Building Bridges will offer Kenyans. The handshake was good. It is good because it has brought calmness, but its product must now be put into its place. And that's why I'm telling Mark, let us not confuse handshake and a product of handshake which is amorphous.
Let me be very clear. Just because Parliament exists to debate issues does not mean the rest of Kenyans can't debate issues. Just because Kriegler did an investigation, it does not mean he cannot do another one. One of the things that we must understand as Kenyans is we must stop needlessly fighting things based on whims, because there's nothing absolutely constitutionally wrong with even reopening Golden Bag investigation. There's nothing wrong with that. What we need to focus on as a country is, for the first time in the history of our nation, we've seen arrests of the corrupt. For the first time in the history of our nation, we have seen a sitting president go to Kisumu and be received in the way that he was. Now, I don't know what kind of mobilization he's talking about, because I can tell you one thing for sure. If there is a movement in this country that does not pay for crowds, it is ODM. It is a known fact, okay? Number three is that you cannot say that you mobilized people plus their emotions. You cannot mobilize emotions.
Right.
The truth of the matter is this, that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and William Ruto are sitting in the cusp of making history. They can make history in this sense, because for the first time, if Uhuru Kenyatta is serious, he can push any bill through government that is positive for this country. For the first time, he has the wherewithal to talk about development, to deal with the issues that ail with this country without political backlash. Look at it this way. Ever since he started fighting corruption, it's only recently when very few nondescript politicians have started saying that it's a tribal fight. But for the longest time, it has remained a pure fight against corruption.
All right,
so we have obvious gains.
Let's take a look at something else in the newspaper, because this conversation will be continued later on with Michael as he takes a look at the week that was. Now, still this issue of 844. Why 844 may not to go on soon. It's on page 5 of the Standard newspaper. We've seen what has happened this week with the cancellation of the new rollout, the new curriculum being rolled out, and also all this drama as well with the issue of students finding a place to go to school. Here's the thing, and I would like to begin with you, Frederick. Do you think that perhaps it's time we need to think about devolving education? And the reason I say this is because you cannot have a student from one of these top Nairobi schools, e.g. Riara, competing, that student competing with one in Pokot, and you expect them to have the same standards of education, you expect them to still occupy the same seats when they are done. Do you think that it's time we devolve education? Could this be the answer? Would it even have helped roll out the new curriculum?
You know, the new curriculum was skill-based. Now, it goes back to what I said here last time with Mike. 844 was a good system, but it is not really skill-based. And if I go back to what you have just said, people have been talking about inclusivity. What brings people together is just education. The reason why today I'm seated with Mike Bichache on this bench arguing out my point is because I went to school and I can speak. That's why today you work for this institution, because you went to school and you know something. Now, if we want real inclusivity, then we must ensure that the child in Pokot get the same education standard as the child in Ushaweri. The child in Homa Bay, Kasipul, Kabondo get the same education as the child in Migori. And that's why we are talking about now devolving these services to the lowest level of devolution called the ward, so that we accelerate development. We cannot have accelerated development in terms of education if we have a system that is discriminative. We are talking about students going to Form 1 today. And if you look at even the type of choices they are making, or they are made for that matter, it makes you wonder that how do we compete fairly? Because we have got institutions that are not standardized and staffed, while others are standardized and staffed. While you sit for the same exams, that is the problem. And I agree with the proponent of dismissing that, because we now must go back to leadership. Some of these people who analyze a lot of stuff don't know that politics plays a key role in ensuring that we have got proper education in this country, because people have pegged development to politics. Education is part of the politics that we are playing today. People believe that if you don't follow certain trend in politics, then you will not get proper facilities in your region.
But don't you not think by politicizing education, that was a big mistake?
Education being politicized has been the biggest mistake ever. And that's why, as a party, we have also believed that for us to have a proper and standardized education in this country, then we must devolve these fully.
All right, Bichache, CS Amina Mohammed will probably address the media on Monday this coming week. What do you expect her to say, especially for parents who have spent money on the new curriculum rollout? They have no idea what's going to happen come January. About 235 schools that was set for the pilot scheme are in the dark. What would you want to hear from CS Amina Mohammed?
Let me first, let's situate this problem correctly first. 844 as a system is not prepared for the future. Okay. If you look at where the world is going, Google and Facebook and other tech companies, for example, have said that it is no longer a requirement for you to have a degree to work in those companies. Okay, that means that job specialization, as we've known it, is changing.
Skill-based.
Yes, it's more about your talent and your ability to learn by yourself, because there's no skill today that you can go get a degree for and then you're competent and viable for 10 years, because the technology is changing too fast. There's too much disruption. So we need an adaptive education system. Now, to go back to 844 is to then take back Kenya to 1984, and that's the problem. Now, when you situate it like that, what Amina needs to give this country is where are we headed in terms of the education, not just of our children, but of our population. Because the truth of the matter is, if Kenya is going to be a viable entity come 2050, is we've got to answer questions like, how come we do not even have a law on drone technology, and drones are too expensive for our children, and these children are the same children who are going to compete with kids in Malaysia who play with drones as though they are party, right? So the question is, have we prepared our nation for the future? Now, Amina can come and tell us all the details, oh, we were not prepared, we were not whatever, we were not whatever. But that's not an excuse, because when we rolled out free primary education, we were not prepared. We've done free secondary education, not prepared. The question is, sometimes you need to do the right thing the hard way. Going the easy way might not be the solution. 844, I'm going to say categorically, is a failed system. It cannot carry Kenya into the future. We need to do a radical shift. Has it been done before? Yes. Look at countries like Finland. 15 years ago, Finland had a youth crisis. That's what they called it. Today, it has one of the best education systems. Why? Because they sat down, parents, teachers, and government, and decided to fix it. Education is not a hard thing to fix. I homeschool my children because I got tired of 844. And when I learned, what I learned about homeschooling my kids is it's a choice we can all make and it's doable.
All right, I'll let Frederick Okango have the
we
last
can
say.
talk about those are semantics. And the reason why I'm saying that good education is a factor of leadership. We must fix our leadership. And by the way, one thing that we also have to get fact about is the stakeholder engagement. While we were trying to implement the new one, how many stakeholders did we engage? In this country, we have an issue of public participation. We have an issue of citizen participation. We have an issue of involving the people in that industry. And we implement policies based on who we report to. So that is a failure from our part. But I want to agree with him on one fact that this system was well intended because it is skill-based. If you are a musician, right from primary one, you grow up, learn, knowing that I'm going to be a super musician who will earn a living. If you are an artist, the same. That is what we're talking about. But in this country today, we are talking about going to do exams to pass. Then what next? That is the problem. So we have to change our system. I agree that. But I want to say that the leadership crisis that we are in today, where people who have gone to school stand on a podium and say tialala, somebody in primary 8 is listening, watching, and thinking that when you say tialala, you are the superhero. That is what we have to change.
All right, and that's a positive note to leave press review. I'll let you grab a copy of the Standard newspaper as well as the Daily Nation. Details of what we've just discussed are there. Let's take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Michael Gitonga will be taking the next part of this discussion. And remember to let us know what your thoughts are. Tweet us at KTN News Kenya and at Zinzi_K at Michael G. Gitonga. We'll be right back.
It's KTN.